What's up, guys? Miles back with another video. The route may look familiar. This is one of the original routes that I always took. It's the nice beachy route along the intercoastal. Nice gorgeous views. Somebody out there on a boat doing boat stuff. That person in front of me is kind of speeding. They patrol this via the air now. I'm sure there'll be cops posted up on it, but they'll have helicopters patrolling this road just to make sure people aren't speeding. Just because it's a residential street. The old wave, give me the old wave. Yeah, so what I wanted to talk about today is basically, is a Supersport 600 class motorcycle the best bike for you? More importantly, and a lot of YouTubers talk about this, is even choosing the right bike for you. I've talked about this in previous videos, but you know, considering I've been doing a lot of riding, I've had this bike for maybe 2.5 months. I've put 5,000 miles on it, so we're doing a lot of riding. You know, it's safe to say I have a good understanding of what the 600 class does on the street, and all the pros and cons of it. But is that what's right for you? You know, primarily these bikes are built to run around the track, and you can tell that just basically on where it makes power and things like that. It makes a lot of power up top. The one good thing about the 636 specifically is it has a decent amount of torque, and it does have some mid-range, so there's some accessible power even around the 8,000 mark, which is, you know, halfway to redline. You still have we can make some power there, and that's why I think it makes it a little bit more streetable. But compared to the R6, where it only makes its power, it's pretty abysmal. Even low and then into the mid RPMs, but up top obviously it makes a shit ton of power. 636 is similar in that sense, but again it has more torque in the mid range, which is why why I chose it, and you know why it's more streetable. Again, it's funny because when I was looking at, you know, when you're looking at bikes and you don't know too much, or you really haven't ridden too much, a sport bike may stick out as the thing, like, oh, I want a sport bike, I want to ride in a sporty fashion, therefore a Supersport is what might be best for me. But the great thing nowadays is there's just so many different types of bikes. Naked bikes are on the rise. Each manufacturer makes their own version of the naked bike. Even in the 650 class, you have the CB650R, the MT-07, the Z650. Trident has their triple now, the Trident 660, Triumph, I don't know, whatever. Who else am I? Suzuki has the SV650, the V-twin. So there are a lot of sporty bikes out there, so that you don't necessarily have to get a Supersport, and that's awesome. It opens up the door for so many other options as to what might be best for you. The best way to know what kind of riding that you're going to be doing is to quickly look at, you know, what's around you, like the town that you live in. You know, what's maybe 30 minutes away if you were going to, you know, take a trip, or 30 minutes, an hour away, go take a trip and, you know, go riding a little further away from home. What kind of roads are out there? Considering that the Supersport is primarily made for the track, I guess if you're going to be doing mountain riding or heavy aggressive mountain riding, even though I'd say it's probably, you know, dangerous to doing, especially if there's woods on both sides, you'd probably be wearing full track gear and stuff to protect yourself. But maybe you know, you can argue that a Supersport is good for that. But again, still, you could take a naked out to those same roads, have the same sporty ride, have a lot of fun. So I guess even the same goes for the track. You can take a naked bike out to a track and have a blast. I think exploring the limits of your skills and the motorcycle's capability in a safe environment would be fun no matter what bike you're riding. You know, granted, probably not a cruiser or a bagger, something that has low parts that if you get a heavy lean angle, you start dragging pegs and stuff like that. So probably not bikes like that, but hey, I'm sure if you wanted to, you could still do it. But yeah, again, back to me, when I had done the MSF and I knew I wanted a bike, I knew I wanted a beginner bike, so I could have gone a Z400 over a Ninja 400, a naked bike over a quote-unquote sport bike. But it was it just stuck out to me so much, and people had so many good things to say about it, especially as a beginner bike. And it's a lot of fun. I took my wife's bike out yesterday, and I could just whip around on that thing. I can just wring it out, wring its neck all around town, and just have a blast, just banging through gears. And it's happy to do that, and it enjoys doing that. But that's I guess you'd call it a sport bike just because of how it looks, and it has clip-ons instead of handlebars, all that stuff. But once I got used to having clip-ons and how a sport bike kind of handles and rides, that's what geared me towards getting a Supersport next. I had also done some demo days, as you could probably see in my previous video. I've done 4, and I got to test out this bike before I bought it. The one thing that I should have done, and I don't regret buying this bike. This is a phenomenal bike, and I have a lot of fun on it. But if you could see from my rides, like, I ride around town. I'm not riding in mountains. There's not a lot of curves. You really can't push the limits of this bike with the kind of riding that I do. I guess you could do that anywhere, but not really safely. And there's not many twisties and things like that. So the one thing that I should have done, I went to a demo day just to ride this bike, and I didn't ride anything else that day. And then the next week I bought this bike. And then the subsequent demo days that I went to, I started riding the whole lineup. The Z650, the Ninja 650, the Z900, the Z900 RS, the retro one, Supermoto, adventure bike, the Vulcan. And I enjoyed riding those other bikes too. It was awesome. And I got a better understanding of how different bikes do different things, and they're purpose built for their own reasons. And even though that 650 motor is in several different bikes, give the old wave. Even though the 650 motor is in several different bikes, like the Versus 650, Ninja 650, Z650, Vulcan S, which is a 650, the same motor in all those different bikes, but the characteristics of those bikes are completely different, and they develop their own personality. I should have rode other stuff before buying a second bike. Would I've still gotten the 636? I'm not sure. Probably, maybe. It's hard to say, because having ridden this and then ridden all those other bikes, the Z900 really stuck out to me as a really fun bike, so comfortable, super torquey, just a lot of fun. A lot of fun mixed with comfort, and that's the awesome part about it. That's the fun part about about that bike. It's just a super sporty experience, super comfortable. Inline 4 makes super sport noises, but it's not a super sport, and that is so cool to have alternative options to having a super hunched over or clip-on type experience, but still get all that power and still be able to ride in a sporty fashion. That's the only other bike that I could think of that I rode that I'd be like, that's a bike that I would want to daily. That's a bike I would want to have all the time. So and that's just kind of where I'm at with my riding. I like sporty, I like power. So it's just cool. It's just cool that there's all those different types of motorcycles out there, and different strokes for different folks. And if you're looking at a Supersport, the one thing that I'll say, if you're looking at a Supersport and you don't know if you're going to do any track days, I have not done a track day. I'm exploring it now with a buddy of mine. There's Palm Beach International Raceway not too far from here, and they do a novice track day, and kind of get my beak wet on what track days are like, I'll probably do it. But how often am I going to do that? Probably not that often, if I'm being honest. I'm just not, you know, I like riding on the street. I like just casually getting out there, suiting up, going out there and going for a ride. I don't make it this momentous occasion to go for a ride. It's just what I do. I don't think about it so much. I just go ride. That's what I do. So if you're thinking about getting a Supersport, the one thing that I'll say is ride a naked bike. You know you want a sporty ride, go check out a naked bike. And if you're looking at a 600 class and you're ready for that power and mature enough to not go overboard with your riding, then the Z900 is awesome. The MT-09. You know, maybe you're riding a 600 Supersport and you don't want another one. Maybe you're going to go into a leader bike, but in a naked form. So not a super bike, not a super bike, like a CBR 1000 or the ZX-10R. Maybe you look like at an MT-10, some kind of a leader bike. I think the Ninja 1000 should be thrown in that category as a sport touring bike. You get all the leader bike power and torque, but a much more upright ergonomics, a lot of comfort. It feels refined, it feels mature. I wouldn't know these things unless I went and rode those bikes. So I know it's really, really tough, and this is, I think, a frustrating thing about buying bikes is not being able to test ride certain things. I've been looking up demo days for other brands, mostly because I want to see what other brands have to offer and kind of educate myself a little bit, to kind of just ride other bikes who wouldn't want to ride more different kinds of bikes. But also to create content around it and explain what those bikes feel like, and then start to get a comparison going. How cool would that be to be able to do that? But there's none. I didn't see any coming up for Honda, Suzuki, even Indian. I kind of want to try out some Indian motorcycles. No demo days coming up. It didn't look until August for these brands here in Florida, which is just shitty and kind of frustrating too, but it is what it is. So I'm not necessarily sure. I would assume you're going to go to your local dealership to look at motorcycles anyway, but some dealerships will let you test ride. The ones I went to around here, that's why I didn't buy any of my bikes here in town. Also, I got better prices when I kind of shopped around a little bit, but I would highly recommend doing a demo day. You may think you want a Supersport, and then similar to me, you go ride a Z900 and you're like, wow, this checks all of the boxes for me. This checks all of the boxes. The ZX-6R checks all of the boxes except for comfort or sustainability or longevity of doing longer rides. I have to take breaks when I ride on this motorcycle. Like I have to. I mean, I'm 32 years old in relatively good shape. It doesn't matter the physique or the physical standing that I'm in. I have to take a break. It's just super committed, and it can be rough on the back. Now, granted, I could ride a lot longer than I used to be able to. I have a lot more stamina than when I first got on it. I could probably only ride 30 minutes at a time. I could ride it a lot longer than that now, but still, again, I got to take breaks. Like this shit's no joke. The Z900, I don't expect you need to take any breaks. You're barely hunched over, and when I say barely, I mean barely. You're almost like sitting fully straight up, and still have the power. It's comparable to this. It just doesn't redline at 16,000 RPMs, but it makes a shit ton of torque. And I remember the first time I rode it, I'm just laughing and giggling and smiling. It was so much fun. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did. So, again, is a Supersport right for you? You really need to think about it. You really need to think about it. You can get what you're looking for out of other bikes other than Supersports if a Supersport is the thing that you want. Circling back to what kind of riding you're going to do, my style of riding is like touring, not necessarily touring. It's like city riding. I say touring because I just will take the bike and go for a long ride, not really necessarily going anywhere. and touring, I guess, would be more so taking it long distance to, you know, different destinations and things like that. So maybe I'm misunderstanding what touring is, but I do a combination of city and touring type riding. A Supersport isn't really for that. I'm not carving, you know, carving mountains and stuff like that, but goddamn, getting into the power and hearing this thing, oh, you just can't help but smile and laugh. And it's just such a fun experience. I just got hit by water. Awesome. It's just such a fun experience, and I love it so much. So I'm excited to where the journey takes you. Takes me, takes you. The cool thing about motorcycles is, you know, you have one for a while, you want a new experience, you go get a different one. Now, granted, everybody is, you know, I say that more simply, not factoring in, you know, the financial situation or what you got going on. And I'm not saying go out and buy a whole bunch of motorcycles, but when it makes sense for you and you want a new experience with a motorcycle, then just go get a different one, you know? You know, am I gonna have this bike forever? Who knows? Am I gonna buy another bike? Who knows? I can't call it. Well, I don't know. I'd like to. The wife will let me if I do some projects around the house and take care of those, so that's pretty cool. I'd probably get an additional motorcycle. And I don't think it would make sense to have a 636 and a Z900, just because they're both so similar in terms of sporty. And what would be the difference between riding the two? Okay, I had to jam on the brakes a little bit. What would be the difference between riding the two? You know, I can get a very similar experience from the both of them. The only thing different would be the seating position. So how would I choose which one to get on when I want to go riding? I think it would make it a little bit more difficult, and I'd probably just ride one and not really the other. So I don't really want to do that. So I'm probably going to look at a cruiser next, just because that will be a completely different riding style. And when I'm getting on the 636, I know I'm going to be doing maybe sporty riding or getting into it a little bit. But when I get on, when I'm on the cruiser, I'll just do a completely different kind of riding, which is cool. So yeah, all I'm going to say is just I would give some serious thought before getting a Supersport, and I'm not knocking them. It's a great bike, but they all, you know, different styles of bike can check multiple boxes. You know what I mean? An adventure bike could be sporty, but can also tow luggage and stuff like that. So sporty is not necessarily universal across all classes of bikes, but it is similar to other classes of bikes. Sporty, naked, sport touring, even some adventure bikes, even some cruisers. There's sporty cruisers. So I would just think long and hard about it. Go ride some stuff. Don't just say, oh, don't just go do it. Just don't go buy a 600 class. But yeah, I'm gonna throw some clips in of maybe some sporty riding. We'll see where it takes us. But yeah, we'll get into some more clips. Oh man, the views. We love them. We love the views. Look at it, it's just gorgeous out here. As I always do views in this spot. I always compliment the views in this spot. Oh, pop-up. Just people out here enjoying the sun, enjoying the palm trees, enjoying the breeze. Shit's awesome, man. Shit is awesome. Is we gon' hit it? Is we gon' hit it? Who knows? Who knows? Are we gonna stay stuck behind this dude? I don't know. Is he making room for me to pass? I don't know what's going on. I don't know. So good. They're so good. Oh, they're so good. Woo. Give it some space to catch up. I closed my visor. Woo! So much wind. There was so much wind in the eyeballs, just hit me in the face. Couldn't get into it. Not enough space. Fuck me. Fuck me. So you guys are starting to see the woes. The woes of having a Supersport is there's not many places where you can unleash it. And even if it's a place where you could unleash it, even if it was a place where you could unleash it, can you really tame it? It's you know, it's a double-edged sword. You know, having a bike with so much power, can you even use all that power? And then when you do use all that power, can you use it safely? There's a lot going on with that. But anyway, if you guys like the video, like, comment, and subscribe. I've been appreciating all the feedback and you know, all the interactions I've been getting, all the new subscribers. I appreciate all of you. Feel free to interact with me. But until next time, I'll catch you in the next one. Love you all. Peace, guys.